Guys, this episode throws out more questions than answers, and I'm looking forward to hearing about every last one of them. Seriously. I'm the Nature Girl 30, and once again, this is a review of Andi Mack Season 2, Episode 2, Chinese New Year. Now, I'm a sucker for episodes that shows inside of other people's cultures, especially when it comes to Chinese New Year or any Asian culture out there. I'm always curious about that and seeing how we actually saw what Cece does every year with her family during Chinese New Year. I think was really great to see, and I'm always intrigued with different traditions like that, especially if it's like something that's like a holiday or possibly something like traditional in your family, culture wise. But it was really hilarious to see Jonah steal that dumpling, and they were like, "It's not for you, it's for our ancestors." I was just laughing. Poor Jonah. It's like Jonah really did want to be a boyfriend to Andi, and Andi is still trying to adjust in being a girlfriend. You can tell. That dress she wore was absolutely adorable. I love that dress. But then it's also it's also started where we left off, seeing how Bex pretty much told Andi that she is not going to marry Bowie, and that it was harder for her to tell Andi because Andi had her heart set on them getting married and her family coming together. But that's not going to happen because Bex is still kind of iffy about Bowie. Or is she? I'll get to that later. But other than that, it was really interesting to see how it left off from the previous episode, and seeing that how Bex just did not change her mind, but she never really told Bowie, and she assumed that Bowie kind of knew, and Bowie would be okay with it because of the whole bohemian, laid back type of dude running off wherever he wants to do kind of guy he was before. But she was totally wrong in that aspect. But when it came to Jonah, Jonah really did want to be a boyfriend to Andi, and you can tell. But the thing was is that Andi was way too afraid to even tell her grandmother that, I'm bringing a guy over. But I found it funny how poor Jonah just wore white, and Cece just saw him was like, white is the color of death. And I was like, okay. I had no idea that white was the color of death in Chinese culture. I had no idea. Something new. Seriously. But they end up giving a red shirt to Jonah anyway, and it was really cute just to see Jonah literally trying to fit in. And honestly, he kind of did. I mean, especially with I guess that was her cousin Ronald, maybe. Yeah, that was like her cousin Ronald, the magician in training. I thought he was absolutely adorable. He was really cute. But the one thing that kind of bothered me a bit about this episode is, and this is what I'm used to, anything Terry Minsky, is that Terry Minsky always had that circle of friends, but they were always together. Either the girls were always together, or the guys were always together, or occasionally they will come together, but they'll be together maybe 3 or 4 episodes. In this one, we actually did see that Buffy and Cyrus had their own dramas going on. Well, actually, Buffy had more of a drama going on than Cyrus, and I think after the first season premiere, that whole thing about him being possibly bisexual really died down a lot. Now, as for Cyrus, I'm still hoping that they actually go the bisexual route instead of the gay route, because we've seen that done so many times, and it'll be nice to actually see something different. But despite all that, I'm not really sure what Buffy's deal is. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I can't even say this is puppy love. I just see this more as a defense mechanism. And this is just me. She is overly competitive to where her ego is absolutely insane. But you all know that people who have extreme egos are the one that are the most fragile uh, emotionally. But they kind of use it as a guise. It could be a possibility that she may feel weak for liking a guy, or the fact that she don't want to seem weak for liking a guy. Like, she don't want to be like all lovey-dovey with hearts in her eyes type of person. But everyone has an ego when they really do, when they really are trying to hide something, especially about themselves. And they want to have a different persona to make people either afraid of them, or to make people respect them, or to kind of disguise or hide themselves from them. And in my opinion, Buffy just didn't seem like the type of person who could be emotional. But then when you see how she treated in the first episode season premiere, how she was towards her friends, and especially how she was towards Cyrus, shows me that she has a capacity to do it. But when it comes to somebody that she likes outside of her friends, that could be scary. So she has to put on a guise and make herself a little bit tougher to make her not seem like that she's, a wuss. Maybe. I don't know. I just can't really phrase it right. But I do feel that this whole ego thing, for her to compete with this guy in every sport that he's in, does show that she really likes him, but she's just afraid of liking him. Maybe that could be the case. But it is getting a bit annoying because I thought they actually did solve this when they did the race. When they did the race for track, and the reason why she didn't do it is because she did not want to end the competition between them because she likes having him around. But she just doesn't want to be a girlfriend. And that's just what I'm getting out of it. But the whole thing with her going on, being the only woman on the basketball team, really? The thing is, I'm not really against that because as a kid, I actually was on an all-guys soccer team when I was a little girl, because in the 80s there wasn't really a lot of girl teams out there, and when I wanted to play soccer as a kid and my mom put me in soccer, the entire team were guys. They were all boys. So, I mean, sometimes, depending on the era, you really didn't have much of a choice. And with that school only having a guys team, yeah, I mean, yeah, she might not have had a choice if she really wanted to do it, but she's doing it just to impress. She's not trying to impress him, but just to be dominant. I don't know. Sometimes I find Buffy a little bit on the odd side, but there are times she actually does warm up to me. And this previous episode, she really did, but not this one. She kind of annoyed me there. With Cyrus, everything kind of died down because Disney is under fire after the whole possibility of him coming out either as gay or as bisexual. And that episode, he got a lot of heat for that, even though I don't think he should have. I think that's a wonderful talking point with your family. But they died down this episode a lot. But they've already shot the season. So this was, they knew exactly what they were doing. I don't think they died down for that or reshot it for that reason. Or maybe they did, I don't know. But we didn't see much of Cyrus or the fact that he brought up the fact that he could be, gay. But that whole side, I guess that whole side episode, the whole sub episode with Buffy and with Cyrus just didn't really feel significant to me. I was hoping that they would actually be at the Chinese New Year celebration. It would have made more sense if they were there, because them being on the side about Buffy playing basketball was just kind of like an offshoot on what the episode was supposed to be about. But the one thing that I really absolutely liked was how Cece was warming up to Bowie, and how that Bowie really did win her over. Not so much of the fact that he knows a lot about taking care of plants. He knows a lot about cooking, and he just completely won her over and literally had her blessing to marry Bex if they got engaged, which blew me away. Like, somebody like Cece, who is strict over everything, literally loves her possible son-in-law. Now, I say possible because we know down the line it could be a possibility that they might get married, or there might be more drama going into it. But other than that, that completely blew me away. Seriously. And I thought that was really sweet. But the one part of the entire episode that broke my heart the most was definitely seeing Bex's face being crushed. And I think it really did crush, or not Bex's face, but Bowie's face being crushed. And I think it crushed Bex actually seeing the response that Bowie had. But I'm hoping that Bowie still stays around, but something tells me that Bowie might start dating again, and they might create that drama to where that Bex is going to see Bowie's new girlfriend, and they're going to go from there. I would not be surprised if that happens. I just wouldn't. But I'm really more curious about the person in the picture than I am with anything else. Because it could be a possibility that Bex could be married. Like, she could be married, just separated from her husband, left and moved home. Or it could be a possibility that he might be a boyfriend. That is a huge talking point as well. But honestly, the fact that she tore it up and the fact that she put it back together with tape, everyone knows that if you tear up a picture of somebody and put it back together with tape, that is somebody who is significant to you. So I'm really curious to find out who is in that picture, but something tells me that we're not going to find out probably until episode 5. And I'm just, I don't know. I don't know if I can handle it, but I'm hoping there's a way I can binge it. And I think that they have their own app, Disney Now. And I might just look it up and see whether or not I can binge the entire episodes just to find out what's really going on. But other than that, man, this was a really great episode. I enjoyed it a lot. I am looking forward to see what's going to happen next. And honestly, every single part of this episode is a huge talking point about about the Chinese New Year and Chinese culture in general, about definitely having estranged families. And also about the fact of liking somebody without saying that you like them. There's always a talking point in this show, and that's why I'm starting to really love this show, and it's definitely grown on me a lot. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think is the person in the picture? Do you think it's an old boyfriend, or do you think that Bex is married? Do you think that Bowie will move on to someone else? Do you think that Jonah is gonna finally come out and say how he feels to whenever well, he is gonna of course come out and say how he feels to Andi? But what do you think about Buffy? Do you think that Buffy uses her ego as a defense mechanism, or do you just think that she's just overly competitive? I want to hear your thoughts. Leave in the comments below about anything that's Andi Mack, especially about this episode, and just let me know how you feel. And also, before I go, guys, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of missing doing a bit of Q&As, but I'm gonna do it on this channel. I am not doing it on my wrestling channel anymore. So if you guys have any questions about any questions to ask me, whether or not it's personal, whether or not it's about Andi Mack or Lizzie McGuire, or maybe about Girl Meets World, anything, doesn't matter. As long as you keep it tame and keep it nice, hey, I might pop out a Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, leave in the comments as well. But other than that, guys, I am done here, and I will see you later. Peace out.